Hello and welcome back to La Bolla. This episode is all about how buzzing mad this garden has become and the pollinators that we have seen in it. Here are a few pics for you of what La Bolla used to look like. As you can see, there was pretty much nothing here for pollinators to want to come for. So when we moved out in September 22, we didn't see any apart from one swallow-tailed butterfly on the bougainvillea, which has been here for the last 18 years at least. Last year we saw one hummingbird moth, and I got very overexcited about that, but not all the flowers came out last spring. This spring is a completely different matter, and we'd like to walk you around the garden now to show you what we've seen. So this is the NEPA Farai dropmore variety. We've got several NEPAs, and we have noticed different pollinators visiting different pollinators, different NEPAs even. And before I go on, I should say that I've been out here with my Canon camera that's got a macro lens, so all the pictures that we're showing you have been taken by me. They're not off the internet or anything. Now this NEPA Farai dropmore seems to attract in particular the bee fly, and the bee fly is a funny little creature. It hovers like a harrier jet and it makes the most incredible high-pitched sounds as it's hovering, and they seem to queue up and wait for a space to get onto this plant. I'm trying to see if there's one here, but from the pictures you can see that that's absolutely tiny. The bee fly likes this plant. We've got two different types of Senecio. This is a Senecio chinararia, and it seems to attract, oh look, oh my goodness, just remind myself what it's called now. That threw me completely. A short blue butterfly. And the picture here that you're looking at is one I'm particularly proud of, because it was a bigger one than that. The little one is back. I don't know if you can see him there, but it was a bigger one, and he was sitting right on the top here along with two small copper butterflies, which I've got pictures of as well for you. So this bush here does seem to attract smaller varieties of flies in particular, but also small butterflies. There's one I didn't have a picture of. If only I had the camera. Look at him. Can you see him? Look at him. I'm almost touching him. See if I can bend the thing. There you go. Have you got him? Yep. Brilliant. In April this year, this Convolvulus Korum, I think it's pronounced, or Neorium, was in full flower, and the insect that seemed to be particularly attracted to it was the polka dot moth. And he particularly enjoyed sitting within the flowers. It's not in flower now, so it's not attracting anything, but that was an important one for the polka dot moth. So we've got more than 450 plants at La Bolla, all drought tolerant, and this one is called a Helianthum apenium. It doesn't look much compared to a lot of the others that I've got, but it is an important plant for the small flies. They're all over it now, but you've also got a picture of one on it as well. So this plant here is a Toycum lusitanicum. And last year it didn't flower at all, but this year it's been covered in particular with Scolia hirtus. I think they're Scolia hirtus. If anyone reckons there's something else, please let me know. But I've identified them online as Scolia hirtus, and they particularly loved this plant. There's not one on it today, ironically. I think it's past its best. But you've got a lot of small pollinators, and I have caught a small copper butterfly on it as well. But the Scolia hirtus don't just like that one. I've also spotted one, and you've got a photograph of one sitting on one of these fallen cornflowers. So we have seen them around, but there is none today. So you can never tell what you're going to get. So wedged between the cornflowers, self-seeded cornflowers, and the Toycum azurium, which unfortunately isn't in flower because when it was, that had bees all over it, is the Phlomis bovi subspecies maricana. And this was, I managed to catch some photographs for you here of what I think is the black carpenter bee, and he was rubbing his back. He was actually within the flower, which they're sort of past their best now, but he was rubbing his back with these bits and getting the nectar onto his back, and it was a great sight. This is the hottest part of the day today, and it's not very busy, but this is a Senecio vira vira, the other type of Senecio that we've got, and it has been covered. Oh, you've got a lovely brown one there. Has been covered in butterflies, small butterflies especially, and small flies. So many small flies, in fact, that it felt like a bit of an invasion. And if I've got any advice for anybody, probably best not to plant a Senecio vira vira right next to your swimming pool. So this is a Garland Hymerai. The Garas have attracted a lot of pollinators, but what I noticed on this one, which you can see in the photograph, is a wasp's nest being built. Very fine paper-like nests, and it doesn't bother us in the slightest because the Puglian wasps in particular seem to be very laid back. They're only interested in what they're doing and pollinating, obviously. They're not interested in people at all. So they leave us alone, well alone in fact. So I'll take you back over to the self-seeded sunflowers, which seem to be having a height competition between themselves. And this one has also filled out into the path. But you've got a photograph here of a bee in it and some footage which we filmed literally today. Pete managed to catch it on the camera. What have you got? Oh no, that's a white-tailed bumblebee. Isn't he cute?
Got him.
Yeah, that's on our sunflower. And from here, the blue one, I'm probably not gonna, oh no, I will go round and show you. I have a Salvia interrupta, which is fighting to come out between the Autotis caulis, this one here. And the bees have enjoyed that. You've got a couple of pictures of the bees trying to get into the Salvia interrupta there. So the California poppies have been prolific this year. They've been everywhere, and they seem to attract a range of different pollinators that you can see in the photos. Bumblebees, I haven't caught a bumblebee on it with the camera, but when they do, the whole flower and stem literally drop to the ground because the weight of the bumblebee is such they can't carry it. And the other one that's self-seeded and done particularly well for the pollinators is the Nigellas. Unfortunately, we've got not many left now. They've all turned to seed heads, which are also very attractive. But where there are flowers, they are still attracting them. And in this photograph, you can see a bee which I couldn't identify. So if anyone knows what it is, please tell me. It's a black and white striped bee, but quite small. And it did enjoy its time on our Nigella. I forgot to say earlier, can I tell people why I don't look like a farmer? Today is a Sunday and I'm not working on the land, so I've got my posh Panama, I've got my clean t-shirt and I've got my flowery trousers, and I feel rather civilised. So I should have explained that earlier. You're used to seeing me in a cap and grubby clothes. This is a Sedum Ocum. It's a very small and unassuming plant that shoots up with these flowers. Now, unbelievably, the flowers have already gone. It's only been out for a couple of weeks, but it all happens so quickly here. And in these pictures, you'll see a nice little bumblebee and also some flies, which, I mean, the smaller pollinators I've had real trouble identifying, but they were all over this a couple of weeks ago. I just love feeling this plant. It's a giant fennel, Fennel communis. I collected the seeds from someone else's stretch of road further along there. I did it in the autumn, planted them, and I've got about 9 of them now. What I didn't know
until recently is that the swallowtail butterfly can
caterpillars grow up. They love growing up in the foliage at the bottom. So I actually don't cut these back in the autumn. I leave them be because the swallowtail butterfly not only feeds on it, but the caterpillar also has its cocoon in there. So they're very important plants for the swallowtail butterfly. This is the Euphorbia keraccara, and it's very, very popular with the smaller pollinators. We've seen a lot of wasps on it, small wasps like this one. And also, I think I captured a picture of a long-tailed blue butterfly, which I was very excited about, as you can imagine. But it's obviously a very popular plant, and there is quite a lot of life on this one still. And this is now beginning of June. I think probably all lavenders are popular, but this one is, because it's got so many flowers, the bees love it. It's a Lavendula dentata candicans, and you've got pictures of here of a beautiful little white-tailed bumblebee that I took. When I looked at the pictures more closely, and you can see it here yourselves, I saw in the close-up that it was also carrying quite a number of little mites on its back, which were evidently getting a free lift to somewhere else, and that horrified me slightly. But apparently that's very common for the bumblebee to be carrying mites on its back. So, and I'm very excited because there's another blue. Can you see him? Right here. Yay! I'm sure you'll recognise that this is a Fabina bonariensis, or you might not recognise Pete's rising his eyes to the ceiling. Fabina bonariensis is very, very popular with the butterflies, not only the great white, or the cabbage white as they call it in the UK, but I was very pleased to get a close-up shot of the small copper butterfly, which you can see here. This is one of 4 NEPA Farai varieties that I have. There's 2 in the inner garden and 1 here. This one was absolutely heaving a few weeks ago. It's still got some life on it, and you've got here a picture of what I think is a clouded yellow butterfly. The other insect that it seems to attract, especially in the evenings, this isn't the greatest time for pollinators because it's so hot, but in the evenings we've seen the hummingbird moth hovering around this, and this year we've seen hundreds of hummingbird moths. Now that could be the same few hummingbird moths coming back hundreds of times, or it could be hundreds of hummingbird moths, don't know. But either way, it's been really busy with the hummingbird moth. Last year we only saw 1, so this year has made a huge difference, and I managed to get a short video that you can see here of the hummingbird moth, and about 5 pictures, of which I'm really proud because of all the insects. It doesn't hover for very long on anything. So getting it and catching it is incredibly difficult, and I'm quite proud of these. So that was our little run through the garden. That's just the inner garden, taking you through which plants seem to attract, we've noticed seem to attract which pollinators. And what we hadn't appreciated was that by increasing the amount of biodiversity in pollinators, we were also going to see more lizards, more geckos, and also we've benefited from seeing more bird life. And the 2 that have delighted us the most are the western house martin, which comes, you never know when it's going to come, and this is why we haven't got any photographs at all. They seem to come from nowhere, stay for about 5–10 minutes, and they swoop and they dip in this pool, pick up insects and go out, and then they fly around again and do the whole thing. And it's like watching an aerobatics display. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. And the other one that we've seen and heard, because it's got a beautifully distinctive trill to it, is the barn swallow. Obviously this is 2nd of June, and it's the right time for them to be in this area. And I should think they're all saying to themselves, what a difference! We really hope you've enjoyed this episode about how buzzing mad La Bolla has become, with me in my Sunday best. And if you've liked it, please give us a thumbs up. We love it if you make comments, and obviously if you know the names of any of those insects that I didn't know, please tell us. And we'd love it even more if you subscribed and followed us on a journey here.